Guten Morgens, welcome. It's myself, Gav Mack, Adam the Greek, and Alex Osborn. Look at you handsome buggers. And this is a hatless Gav Mack 4-2 up top. And we are going to be reviewing the game day 33 and previewing some of the games that are happening today. Greek, it's good to see your handsome face. How are you, dude?
I'm good. I'm not going to lie, I just woke up.
Yeah, I'm not that far behind you, to be honest. And Alex, how are you, bud? Long time no see.
Very well. Yeah, very well. Very pleased with our marathon watch long we did yesterday. I'm buzzing about that, to be fair.
Big thank you to everybody who got involved in that as well. We had over 2,500 people across all social media platforms watching with us yesterday, and it's great numbers. Thank you so much for everybody involved. Why don't we start with the game that we were watching along? Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Arsenal 2. Who the hell expected that result?
I don't know. Maybe your most hardened Arsenal fan. Maybe they're always going into each game optimistic. I like to try and be optimistic, but it's been hard in these last few years to be optimistic as an Arsenal fan. But I think there was plenty of signs of encouragement there from an Arsenal point of view.
What about you, Adam? When you go into this game, these sort of games, you already have an expectation of what Arsenal team are going to show up and how they're going to react. Did you expect this to happen at all?
So I have a theory about Arsenal and the descent in the ranks, and I feel like what Arteta's done in the last few weeks has said you're either with us or you're not, and he's taken those boys and he's put them out of the squad, and these guys have come in and really clubbed together yesterday, and it wasn't a pretty performance by any stretch of the imagination. Arsenal held the ball so well, I thought, in the game, and they just, when they were in possession, they looked more self-assured than they have done. I feel like they have come together, and getting a result like that against Wolves, particularly away from home, is a phenomenal result. So that could be the catalyst for them to kick on. It may not be, they're probably not going to get a Champions League place with the way the teams have playing around them at the moment, and Leicester winning as well. But they can really take that attitude from yesterday into next season. Then they've got a lot to be positive about.
I just find it really weird seeing Arsenal put in a dogged performance. It's not very often that you see Arsenal grind out a victory, and this is what I'm not saying that Arsenal are going to be champions anytime soon. I'm not that stupid. However, when you see teams at the top, it's when there are games where they do have to go out and just put in a real dogged performance, grind out a 1-0 win, or you get lucky with a 2-0 win, and that's exactly what Arsenal did there. And I think it's very impressive.
Do you know what it was? This was a very peak George Graham Arsenal performance yesterday.
Yes,
they were
yes, it was
organised, defensively, as you say, dogged. And Greek's right. He came out a few weeks ago and said, "You're either with us or you're not against us, but you're either with us or you're not." And I think this might have happened anyway, but obviously the whole Guendouzi thing from Brighton, the Brighton game, it seems to have galvanised the whole squad now, with him, Arteta, coming out and saying so. And I don't know whether he's been made a scapegoat or not, but it seems to be, since he's come out the side and he's gone out the squad, we've just all banded together. And hopefully what it does mean is that the board and the higher-ups can back him, because imagine what he could do with players that he wants in, and they're going to be part of the club going forwards when you get better players in, that he can kind of get the football he wants to play.
Midweek, Arsenal have got Leicester. Leicester picked up a 3-0 win yesterday at home to Palace. This is a giant result for Leicester, because they have been in absolutely terrible form. What did you boys make of the game, Adam?
Again, hugely significant and important game. I mean, they didn't look like they were getting going in the first half, and then they came out second half and they really just hit the ground running. It was, like I say, it's a hugely important result. And Palace would have maybe been harbouring some sort of ideas, and I've been saying this in the last few weeks in regards to Newcastle and Palace particularly, and maybe just sneaking into that European frame. But Leicester needed this, because I think their last 15 games, they've just had, I think they've got less than 10 points, so they really had to get something going, and they did. And obviously Vardy stepped up and joined the 100 club. Iheanacho got on the score sheet as well, so they can be really, really pleased with that result.
Yeah, very true. It's the first victory that they've had in the league since they beat Villa on. I know we've had a hiatus, but at the same time, there's still a number of games where we've, a number of game weeks. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. It's the first win in 5 games in the league, and prior to that, they haven't won in the league since they beat West Ham 4-1, and that was back in January. So we were looking at this game and we were saying, look, this is a time where if Leicester don't win this game here, there was no chance of them finishing in the top 4. Their running's terrible. They've got some real big sides. They've got Arsenal. They've got United. I think they might have Liverpool as well. I have to get their fixtures back out.
No, they play Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United on last game of the season.
Yeah, that's right. They've got Bournemouth away, who are fighting for relegation. They've got Sheffield United. You never know which Sheffield United side is going to turn up now since lockdown. And Man United on the last game of the season. Now that could be such an important game for them. Alex, we expected Leicester to win this game before, but did you expect them to put in that type of performance yesterday?
Well, as Adam alluded to, the first half was a bit cagey, and then they came out second half. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers must have given them a bit of a rocket at half time to try and get them going. I think it's very noticeable that Leicester win and Jamie Vardy's got himself on the score sheet. Those two seem very true. And it was kind of highlighted on the highlights programme last night on BBC One that he was earlier in the game. He was kind of snatching at his chances, and you could see after those chances gone, he was getting very frustrated. Like he was punching the floor. He was like putting his arms up in exasperation, and then his first goal came, which was kind of gifted to him from Palace, with trying to play out from the back, which seemed really weird for a Palace side. What happened? Why I don't really recall that. I think Palace are a team that clear their lines and they'll go from there, but they tried something completely different there, and it cost them big time.
The first goal I thought was quite embarrassing, to be fair. Iheanacho, it's nice to see him get on the score sheet again, but for me, what is Gaeta doing? Like, why is he not come out with authority? It's almost like it was a half-assed attempt to try and win the ball, and it is another gift. They're just giving goals away, and I wasn't saying that Palace will get into Europe the other day. What I was trying to explain was the fact that they're not far behind points-wise to be, because 8th place could be a European spot. What's the harm in them putting a push together and trying to make something happen?
Look at it like this. Newcastle, if they get 3 points today, they'll be equal on the amount of points that Spurs have. So to not include them, a team like Newcastle, in that conversation is ridiculous, because they are there. So Palace are in the same situation.
Well, so we went down to 7th from 7th spot. Arsenal were in 7th spot at the time. There's 7 points clear of Southampton in 14th.
So, and this is it. So with Palace, I personally feel like with them yesterday, it was concentration levels, and I feel like after the victories that they've had in the last couple of weeks, a few of their players have probably just gone, well, we've done our bit now, we've survived, let's just get over the line and let's just get the season done, and then let's just focus on maybe next year or contracts or maybe moving on. I don't feel like for Palace are in a bit of a funny mode at the moment, because obviously Roy Hodgson's probably coming to the end of his career. I don't know how many more years he's got left in his position, so they're probably going to be looking for a new manager. Some of them players are coming towards the end of their contracts. Obviously, Wilf Zaha is almost certainly going to leave this summer, so a few of them players are probably looking to jump ship. Maybe they've just down tools a little bit and they're thinking, well, our season's done, let's just get it, let's go through the motions.
That's fair. Bottom of the league, Norwich. They are doomed. I'm sure they are doomed.
Yeah, their reaction after the game kind of said so as well, didn't it? Really.
I think it spoke volumes, really. What annoyed me about this game? So Norwich 0, Brighton 1. Trossard with the goal on 25 minutes. What annoyed me so much about this game was the fact that Norwich made so many changes. They dropped Pukki, they dropped Buendia, they dropped a number of players, and in the starting lineup, no player had scored more than one Premier League goal. So how are you expected to go out and get a result against a Brighton team, which they should be thinking, right, we could try and get a result against Brighton because they're in and around us, sort of thing. They could not necessarily drag Brighton back into it, but it's helped them, like leapfrog them out of danger. They're on 21 points. They're not going to be able to move any further forward than this.
So the thing with Norwich is that I'd be disappointed as a Norwich player or as a Norwich fan, particularly, to hear Fark come out and say, oh, it's unrealistic that we're going to survive. I'd at least want to hear some sort of rallying cry, and I'd at least be trying to appeal to those players. And I had a chat the other day with some guys about Norwich and the famed double dip from the Championship these days. It happened to Sunderland. It could happen to Huddersfield this year. If Norwich go down, they're certainly going to lose Buendia, Pukki, Campbell. Max Aarons is definitely on the way out.
Lewis.
Yeah, they've
got a lot of decent players. They just don't know how to play together. I think that's what it is. Because a lot of that back four, they've got a good back four. Any of those back four can get, not together, not collectively. It's weird. Like any of that back four could go to anyone else in the Premier League and probably a top side of the Premier League. Do you agree with that? Like in terms of, like for instance, their fullbacks. Their fullbacks.
I think Max Aarons is definitely the standout player. He's definitely the standout player.
Why don't Liverpool go out and use them?
They're all quite young, though, aren't they? They're all quite young, so they could definitely get better. I just don't know. Obviously, you can't really say as a back four they're a good back four because they've conceded 61, got the most goals in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, but individually they are. I mean, looking at they are.
I mean, I can't see Godfrey or Closer getting contracts at Premier League clubs next year, given the performances. I thought Closer is. He's not a proper Premier League footballer. Maybe for a mid-table, top-end Championship side, and maybe if a manager can get the most out of him. But I don't see it is a matter of cohesion because they have got very good individuals. But again, the choice to leave out, Pukki and Campbell yesterday was absolutely ridiculous. They had one shot on target in the whole game, and you can't justify that. So it's all well and good trying to play pretty football, but you need to have dogged performances. You need players who are going to scrap for goals and get in the box, and they just don't. Like you say, one Premier League goal in the starting lineup yesterday. That's ridiculous, and that is relinquishing, your post as a Premier League team. We've said they're finished since January, and they obviously post lockdown it doesn't look much better for them. Brighton, completely contrast. And if you look at Brighton, they lost their first game back from lockdown against Man United 3-0, and since then Graham Potter's worked a minor miracle. I don't see how he's not been considered for manager of the month this month because losing 3-0 to Man United, who look fantastic by the way, but they've beaten Arsenal, they drew against Leicester, and then going out and beating Arsenal, getting a result against Leicester, and then coming out and beating Norwich, who is one of their main rivals. They've done fantastically well, and they'll be a Premier League team next year for it, which I'm disappointed at because it looks like we won't be able to sign Ben White.
What's the crack with Leeds? Got a good result yesterday.
Fantastic. First decent game for Calvin Phillips coming back from lockdown. I think he's had a look at himself. He really stepped up. Scored a great free kick. We were begging him not to take it, and he popped it in the top corner. So can't complain. 10 points from a possible 15. See the job done. But Brentford won't drop a point. It's all down to what happens to West Brom, I think.
Yeah, very true.
Brentford will be Premier League next year.
Brentford will be.
I think just touching back on this game as well. After we've got our one per show Leeds referencing. I think what Daniel Farke was trying yesterday was thinking, well, it hasn't worked well with the players I've been playing. I'm just going to throw a Hail Mary and try something different, which is why he went with the team that he did yesterday. It didn't work. And I personally, obviously he brought those players on, didn't he? Pukki ended up coming on, Campbell come on, Buendia came on, and unfortunately by that time it was too late. But the reaction of the Norwich players as soon as the final whistle went kind of summed it all up, that they realised that they're pretty much doomed, aren't they?
Well, it's funny because you've gone Adam alluded to, or was it Adam or yourself, Alice? I can't remember who said it about what Farke said. In regards to, we're not.
It was Adam. Adam said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the contrast of that is Eddie Howe, because he said that they'll be able to win all 7 games on the return. It's not really worked out for him very well there. Manchester United 5, Bournemouth 2. Now it could have been a bit hairy because Bournemouth went 1-0 up. Can we just talk about the techers there from Stanislas?
I don't want to take anything away from Stanislas, but it's very poor from Maguire. It's pure skill, and I think at that point they should have been worried because Man United already looked good in the game. You know, they took their chance well, and I was very, very close to lumping it on Man United to win and to score over 4.5, and I'm full of regret that I didn't because they were absolutely superb and they are really firing on all cylinders. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to challenge for the title next year, but I think that their scrap for top four is going to be a lot more comfortable. Put it that way.
I think they're well up there. I think we shouldn't just be looking at City and Liverpool next year. I think we need to be looking at Chelsea. We need to be looking at Man United as well. And, you know, I know Wolves didn't pick up the result that they wanted to yesterday, but, you know, every now and then there is a dark horse who sniffs around and just rocks the apple cart a little bit. I think Wolves could be that side.
I think Everton will be that side next year. I think that they're really settling in under Ancelotti, and I feel like if they have a couple of good additions in the summer, experienced additions, I feel like Everton are going to be that top 7-8 in the Premier League is going to be phenomenal next year. The gap between them and the
Premier League is going to be very strong next year. Yeah,
very much,
especially towards the top of the table. Anyway.
100%. That bottom half of the Premier League will sort itself out. The top half is it's a shootout. I think people think Man City are going to come back and you know, smash the title. They've lost 8 games this year. They've got a lot of work to do. Liverpool, they need to re-galvanise. Obviously, Man United doing what they're doing. I mean, if they do go out and sign a Jadon Sancho, and that's a real signal of intent, that front line, who really look like they're singing to Wally's song sheet at the moment, Jesus, I'd be fearful for the defensive side of the Premier League.
I think Man United will go on and win the FA Cup this year. They will beat Chelsea in the semi-final, and they will beat whoever they face between Arsenal and Man City in the final. They're just too good at the moment. They're too good. When they're all playing together. They all know exactly when to sit, when to run, when to overlap. You know, as you said, they're singing from the same song sheet. And Greenwood yesterday was just absolutely sexual. Martial's finish as well. Jesus.
I feel like there was a good video of Solskjaer before he came in at Man United, and he encourages his players to shoot, and that's the key. I always said this.
I remember that video. Yeah. He was kicking off, weren't he?
It was an expletive in there. This is what you need, and you need a manager who's going to put confidence in your forwards. And the big chats yesterday again in the ATG household. You have to be confident in front of goal. You want your strikers to be a little bit selfish sometimes. Greenwood, I'm going to quote you from the group chat, Gav. He has elite potential. He's that confident. 15 goals in a season at 18 years old is phenomenal. So between him, Rashford, Martial, and any additions that they bring in, I hate to say it because it's such a cliche, but Pogba and Fernandes really, really firing on all cylinders as well together. They look good. They look very good. So maybe just a little bit of plug in at the back, and I think that they could be in a good position next year.
Yeah. Pogba and Fernandes have turned that side around completely because they just get the ball quicker to their strikers, and as you see, their strikers. We put the graphic up yesterday during our watch long about how many goals and assists that they've done this season. What Martial, Rashford, and Greenwood, all 3 of them have got at least 16 goals this season between all 3 of them, and that's
more than
Liverpool
between them. Yeah. So as soon as you get the ball to them, where the opposition defence hasn't got organised, it's curtains. And Bournemouth, as it was shown yesterday, they were run ragged, absolutely run ragged.
They put defences on the back foot.
Yeah.
I know that they were trying to install a little bit of confidence by saying, you know, we could go out and win all 7 games, but don't you think that's probably adding more pressure on Bournemouth?
I feel like he's trying to G his team up, so he's going the other way to Daniel Farke, and I see what he's doing. It's disappointing for me, and it's a disappointing end to Bournemouth staying in the Premier League because they've been fantastic. They've been so unlucky with injuries this year, and they've just put themselves in a position where they're unable to win games. And now I think it's a mentality issue. I don't think they're in trouble. For example, next year I feel like they'll bounce back and they'll be, you know, playoffs, maybe pushing for automatic, depending on how they get on in the summer. Maybe they'll go for fresh blood, and Eddie Howe won't stick around. I'd be very worried if he didn't for Bournemouth. He's done so much for them as a club. I feel like he can be like their Sean Dyche, and he will bring them back up. But he'll be a sought after manager almost certainly, given how he's turned that club from, you know, League Two fodder to a Premier League four.
Yeah.
So for Bournemouth, it is over for them, in my opinion. It's not that they pick up a couple of wins, and they've got important games coming up. Anything can happen, but I feel like they're
down. One team that are getting away with other teams around them messing up and fluffing their lines are Watford. They went down 3-0 yesterday to Chelsea. Chelsea desperate to bounce back after their shock defeat during the week against West Ham. Is that the type of performance that they needed to put in?
From a Chelsea perspective, becoming more dogged. Giroud has become a real weapon up front for them. He just hammers into the centre-backs and he gives them such a headache that it allows the wide players and Mason Mount to run riot, and it's really, really working for them. So maybe Frank's found his niche. He's not overly reliant on one or two players. They seem to be quite a collective at the moment, and they look like they can free score when they want to.
Yeah. Watford. I think they're lucky that there's other teams around them that are getting slapped.
Well, as we mentioned before, all of the teams at the bottom, other than that West Ham win, haven't really won a game, or they're not winning too many games. So they're all staying close together because they're all not picking up points. Watford's kind of got away with it, with Bournemouth losing, Norwich losing, Villa play today, I think, don't they? West Ham play today. If West Ham win today, they'll put a bit of a gap between them and the teams below them, and kind of got those couple of victories that the bottom sides need to pull themselves out of it. We're still looking at the table right now. Watford have only won 6 games all season. They've only won 6 games in 33. So that little Nigel Pearson revival is well in the past now.
Yeah, 4 out of those 6 wins were in a little period just when Nigel Pearson first came in. So
yeah,
if it weren't for that, we'd be looking at a derby situation right now.
Yeah, it's they would be bottom of the table if they didn't have that little run. So I'm trying to see who Watford's last fixtures are. I mean, they've got
Norwich on Tuesday. That's the key game. If they win that,
it's their next 3 games, isn't it? Looking at it,
yeah. So that they have to get that. They have to be done and finished by Man City. If they get 6 points out of Norwich and West Ham, I think they'll be okay, because obviously beating those 2 teams will basically condemn those guys to a last 2 game scrap. And obviously. Yeah. The most important one, I think, is West Ham versus Villa, last game of the season. I think that'll be the one that decides who goes down out of those 2. And I feel like at the moment, from what I can see, I mean, West Ham obviously beating Chelsea was a massive, massive result for them, because they would be second bottom. But I feel like Villa have got a couple of match winners in there. I personally feel like it's looking like West Ham. I feel like Norwich. I feel like Watford do have the quality, but they've got an aging squad, and they've got a big summer ahead, regardless of which league they're in.
Chelsea, as I said before, they were desperate to pick up a victory after their shock defeat during the week. This is now a decent opportunity for them to lay a gauntlet down a little bit and say, no, top 4 is definitely ours, because it is getting tight now between those sides in the top, from 3rd down to 6th. It is getting tough for them. And Chelsea's running, they should be okay, but you never know what's going to happen. They've got Palace away on Tuesday. They've got Sheffield United away on next weekend. They've also got to play Norwich, which should be fine for them. But then it's their last 3 games. It's not looking tidy for that on that front. They've got Man United in the FA Cup, of course. They've got Chelsea. They've got Liverpool away, and they've got Wolves at home on the last day of the season.
It's again very significant. They need to really be picking up 9 points out of their next 3 to sort of guarantee that. Right, okay. And other teams around them may drop points. I think a few of them play each other, and then again, those last 2 games of the season. 3 games for Chelsea, obviously hugely significant, because they're Liverpool. And yes, I know Liverpool got absolutely slapped up by Man City last week, but maybe they've taken their foot off the gas, but you're still playing against one of the best possession teams, probably the best possession team in the world. So it's going to be a tough one. That game against Man United, the FA Cup, is it something that they really want to prioritise, the FA Cup? I personally would probably be looking at that Wednesday game against Liverpool and saying, right, maybe we should guarantee Champions League football over Europa League next year and an FA Cup victory. If I was a Chelsea fan, it's a very, very difficult one because you've got to respect the trophies, and obviously, if you're in that position, you want to go out and win everything. But
that's
Champions League football is the difference for me. Yes, they've signed Werner, and yes, Ziyech's on his way as well, and potentially other players. But the difference between Europa League, you guys have seen it a couple of years in the Europa League for Arsenal. It does affect you in the transfer market. So.
We're going to talk about some of the games that are happening today, and we're just waiting on Flo Wolfram, who's going to be joining us very shortly to speak about the Pokal final from last night for a couple of moments. But before we go on to that, let's talk about things that are happening in Germany. We've got Thiago Silva, which looks like he signed terms to join Liverpool. What impact do you think that Thiago will have on the Liverpool side, Alex?
Thiago Silva, as in the PSG centre half.
Thiago Alcantara.
From Bayern Munich. Okay. Interesting. I don't know whether they're trying to signal a change in philosophy then, or they're just going for a plan B, because he doesn't really fit into the way that Liverpool play.
Yeah.
If he's the one that they're going to be bringing in. I think maybe Klopp's going for this could be their signalling of this is what our plan B is going to be.
See, I think that we've spoken about how industrious Liverpool are, and that they, even though they've been brilliant, there's no criticism really to how they've played, but they do lack someone with creativity, and he could be that person. I don't know what your thoughts are, Adam.
I think at the end of the day, signing a Spanish international of the caliber of Thiago, Guardiola got the best out of him. Obviously, like at Barcelona and at Bayern Munich, you walk the league every year pretty much, particularly since he's been there. I think he's won the league every year. It might be a shock to the system for him coming to the Premier League. It's about how he adapts, really. Again, I think it is a plan B. I don't think he's going to walk in as a starter, particularly with the ascendance of Fabinho. I don't feel like Liverpool do lack a really, really creative midfielder. A lot of their creativity comes from Firmino. So again, maybe it's just a little bit of a change of system. We'll see. But at the end of the day, I think it's a great signing on a free transfer. I don't think he'll be on a colossal amount of money either. I think he's probably looking at that going, right, I'm going to go to one of the best teams in the world with, in my opinion, the best coach in the world. And, I'm going to be up there in every competition that I play in rather than, walking the league every year. It must be mundane playing for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, just winning all the time. It gets really boring. I was going to go join Norwich. No offense to Norwich. Just waiting on Flo to come in. I'm sure it'll be in a couple of seconds. I don't really want to move on to the previews of today's games and then cut back. But there's other things happening in Germany at the moment. We've also got a playoff situation between Heidenheim, who was no one expected Heidenheim to be knocking around, and then we've also got Werder Bremen. The first game ended 0-0. Werder Bremen were down to 10 men, and the next fixture is coming up pretty soon as well. It's either today or tomorrow. And whoever wins that will be in the Bundesliga for next year. I don't see Heidenheim really getting a result there, but football is a crazy game. And before I carry on as well, underneath you'll be able to see all the social media links. You got Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, all at 2 Up Top Football. So that is the handle on all social media platforms. And also, if you stick our name in Google, if you just put in, or if you're on Google and you think, oh, what's going on with the football lot? Oh, you just put in, 2 Up Top. All our stuff comes up. Brilliant. So you can listen to it, you can watch it. Fantastic.
Who would you, if you could cherry pick a couple of players from the Bundesliga for Arsenal, from what you've seen, who would you take realistically? Obviously, Havertz looks like he's going to end up at Madrid or Man City.
I would look at. It depends. There's a lot of young players. I would look at maybe a Diaby.
Yeah.
I would probably look at from Leverkusen. I would look at maybe a Sane, the defender at the back for Hertha Berlin. I like him.
What about Upamecano? Do you think that that's finally going to happen, or whether he's going to be good enough?
I think an Upamecano thing. I think it's a lot of money. It's dragged out as well. He's a very, very good defender. We've seen that already. I just think we should be looking. I think Arsenal should be looking at, signing the better players from the smaller clubs rather than trying to sign the better players from the bigger clubs. Because I don't think they'll have the same. I don't think they'll have the drive and desire to go play for Arsenal. Where if you pick a player from a smaller club, they'll be more driven. That's what Liverpool. That's what Liverpool did. That's what Man City did.
They do. But Arsenal are a bigger club than Leipzig, so there's still a step up for Upamecano.
Much bigger. Would you take
much bigger in terms of history, but they're not much bigger because Leipzig are playing Champions League football every year. Arsenal aren't doing that anymore.
Well, they haven't really been playing Champions League football every year. It's only been in the last couple of years.
It's two of the last 3 years.
Arsenal's still a bigger club than Leipzig. There's no doubt about that.
Would you take player from Mönchengladbach? 33 goals in all competitions this year.
No, I would take Thuram.
10 goals, sorry, in all appearances.
I wouldn't take player because he's a bit older.
27.
Yeah, I would want players that are a little bit younger than that. Flo's just about to join in. He's just sorting his camera out, and I'm just going to feed him in right now. You right there, dude?
Hey guys, you all right?
I'm all right.
Hello, what's up, man?
How's your head?
It's getting better because already have 2 pints of beer in my belly, so I'm fine. I can show you maybe a little look around.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Right, brought you on for a few minutes. Don't want to take too much time out of your day because you're clearly busy. And just talk about the Pokal from last night. Bayer Leverkusen 2, Bayern Munich 4. Not the result that you were expecting. It's tough one to take, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Maybe. Being objective, I would have expected kind of a result like this because it's exactly the same result we had in the league match. But of course, you're hoping all the time. The whole week, I've never seen something like this before. The whole city of Leverkusen was black and red. Everything, all buildings were flagged, and the people were walking around in their jerseys and their kits. Was the experience before was great. I loved the whole day until kickoff. So
yeah,
I tried to enjoy the day till kickoff as much as I could. Cheers, by the way. Cheers.
Prost.
But Bayern Munich has such class in the team. The free kick from Alaba was insane. But we were kind of beating ourselves yesterday because the foul from Tabsova was unnecessary. Before the second goal from Munich, Wendell should have stayed back and not attacking because he should have closed the way for the pass. And then the square ball from Baumgartlinger before the 3-0. Bayern, I hope you can understand me, it's kind of loud right now. Bayern didn't need to do much more than they have.
Yeah, they didn't need to put a lot of pressure on, did they? And there was an opportunity for Volland, and if he had scored that could have been a whole different ball game.
Oh, yeah. And after that opportunity, there was the 3-0 for Munich, and the game was over. And shots were on the table.
Yeah, it's a shame. What's going to go forward? I mean, it looks like Havertz will probably move on in the summer. Do you think there'll be any more movements for Bayer Leverkusen in the summer?
Could you repeat your question? I didn't understand you.
It probably looks like that Kai Havertz will leave this summer. Do you think that anyone else will be leaving Bayer Leverkusen this summer?
Yeah, but Kai would be the most important player. We have some loan players like Tin Yedva, who's playing for Augsburg. I hope he leaves. Dragovic maybe, because he has not the amount of time he wants to have on the pitch. Alario, maybe kind of. From my point of view, Alario is a great striker.
Yeah.
But it seems like he does not fit to Peter Bosz' idea of playing football. So he scored
every time he plays. He either scores or creates something.
I absolutely missed him yesterday on the pitch because he's a striker in the box. You know, if you bring in the crosses, if you send him before the goal, he scores his goals.
Yeah.
But Peter Bosz prefers a striker who's playing with the team, with maybe falling a little bit back, getting the ball, and sticking it to the fast wingers. So I'm afraid that maybe Harilaou will leave because he has every reason. He's a great striker, and he's, from my point of view, he's a solid 15 goal striker every year.
Yeah,
he would
definitely.
play all the games, he would strike at least 12, 13, 14, 15 goals maybe.
No, he's a good player. I do like him. Now, there is one opportunity for silverware still. You are in the Europa League. Do you reckon you could go out and win that?
I'm really looking forward to that competition because we have a huge favor for us that we can stay in our stadium, use our training facilities. All the other teams have to travel to Germany, to the Rhine-Ruhr area, playing in Düsseldorf, Duisburg, Cologne. And if you would have asked me before the match yesterday, I would have said I prefer to win the cup in Cologne.
Yeah.
This would be against all.
Do you think? Do you think Leverkusen are at a slight, and other teams in Europe at a slight advantage over the British teams that are left in the competition because obviously they're going to still be in their domestic campaigns going into that, or will they have the momentum? Does it actually give them an advantage? Do you think now that you've got a couple of weeks off?
I think this is an advantage. I was talking to a fitness coach recently from the first team. And he said, 10 or 12 days, it's okay for the players. They won't lose any kind of fitness in this time. So now our players have a couple of days off. Then we can focus entirely on this competition. Usually in the regular season, you have the Bundesliga, you have the cup running, and you have the European Cup, and Europa League is treated like a second child or something like that from the German clubs. And a stepchild. and now we have just the entire focus on this competition, and this is the first time. That's really good.
Yeah, brilliant. All right then, Flo. Thank you very much. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the beers. See you later, boys.
Thank you very much, guys. My guys over here.
Cheers.
Bye bye. Oh, we are champions of England. There's a Liverpool lad here.
Oh, poor buggers. Catch you later, Flo. All the best. Let's talk about Liverpool. Liverpool are playing later on today. 4:30 kickoff live on Sky Sports. Liverpool, they've won the title. You know, they put a full strength side out against Man City. Didn't get a result. Do you reckon they'll go full strength again?
I think we might see some minutes for Nico Williams today. He looked really, really impressive when he's played. Obviously, that last result, you can put it down to a freak occurrence, but Villa can't defend for toffee. So I feel like there's going to be goals in this one. I'd probably go over 3.5 goals for Liverpool. I think they're going to come out. I wouldn't want to be Villa today myself. That's a bold prediction.
I think Harvey Elliott might get a start as well, actually, today.
Who, sorry?
Harvey Elliott.
Yeah.
I can see a couple of the kids like being blooded through over the next few weeks. I think they should. They've got nothing else to play for now. You know, it's other than trying to break records, they've got nothing else to play for whatsoever this season. So, you know, I can see them picking up 14 points in their last 6 games. So
they could be the first team to win all their home matches in a league season. So obviously, Villa's probably the easier game out of the ones that they've got. No disrespect to Villa or anything. Again, they've got good players in the squad. They've got people who can score. You know, they can score goals when they want to. Grealish. If Liverpool suppress Grealish in this game, which I think they will, I feel like Fabinho will do a job on him if that's how they start. But yeah, I think they should be bringing in the youngsters for these last few games. Like if anyone's going to put it up the first team and say, right, you know, you didn't perform against Man City, you had a hangover, whatever. But then we'll see. Klopp is the guy. He knows what he's doing, so we'll see.
He does indeed. Yeah, it's going to be a slap in. I'm looking at like a 3-0 job there. So the game that's coming up in 20 minutes' time is Burnley versus Sheffield United. Now, before the game, before lockdown, I would have predicted this one quite easily. It would have been a really comfortable 2-0 win or something like that for Sheffield United. But Burnley were a weird side, and they're not that bad at home either. What way do you see this going, boys?
Alex?
I don't know if I would have predicted such a comfortable 2-0 win for Sheffield United in this game.
Before lockdown, 100%.
I don't know. Burnley are a difficult side to play at home, and for Sheffield United, who are very system regimented, I wouldn't have said it would have been such a comfortable result. I'm still going to go with a draw for this game. Low scoring draw, maybe 0-0, 1-1, that type of thing. I think both sides are going to be. I think they're going to cancel each other out somewhat. And cue a high scoring game, 4-3 or something. That's kind of where I see in this game going. I think it will be a very tight affair, to be fair.
They went. Sheffield went 3 games without scoring before beating Tottenham 3-1. So they have been struggling to find the net. It's difficult for me to predict this. We've been waxing lyrical about Wilder all year. If Burnley win this game, they go above Sheffield proper on 48 points. So it's really, I think people need to really, really put some respect on Sean Dyche's name. I feel like we're in for a bit of a shock here, and I feel I'm going to go low scoring. I'm going to go 1-0, maybe 2-0 Burnley. I feel like they're going to bully Sheffield today. Burnley at Turf Moor. They're going to come out there. Dyche is going to have them well drilled, and he's going to say, "Right, get out there, put it up them." They don't like it when you bully them. Sheffield. They like to play on the counter, and I just feel like if they invite Burnley in deep with those crosses and the way that they can break teams down, really hammer you in the final third, I feel like Burnley could get a result. And if they do, then my word, that fair play to them. They've had a great season, Burnley, and they've really made something out of nothing.
Yeah, I agree. That's so true. I'm going to go with a Sheffield United win though, just because the way they did perform against Spurs, especially when they were 2-0 up, they looked really comfortable, really assured. And I could see Sheffield United using that as a catalyst in today's game. And as Alex said, they are regimented the way they handle their work. They're very well drilled. And I think that will be enough for them to push forwards and get a result today. So, yeah, I'm going to go with a Sheffield United win. I'm going with a 1-0 win. I want to see an Ollie Norwood screamer for about 25 yards out. There's important games everywhere. There's always important games in the Premier League. That's why it's the best league in the world. Second best league in the world behind the Bundesliga. But Newcastle versus West Ham, very big game, very important game for both teams, really, because Newcastle, they're going to want to finish as high as possible for when this takeover comes out. They could turn around and say, yes, we ended here, and attract some more names. And then West Ham, they're languishing down the bottom. So tough one here.
Go on, Adam.
I'm going Newcastle win. I feel like they've found something in the last few weeks since lockdown's come back. Maybe again, prove you want to be here for the revolution, something like that. They've got good players in the squad. I don't know if it's a basis to move forward. If they do get the takeover sorted out, then they're going to make some serious acquisitions. Steve Bruce hasn't done his. He might be the manager of the month since we came back. He's done a great job. And again, another 3 points, and they're even with Tottenham. They're even with Burnley. They go above Everton. It's a big day for Newcastle. This is if they go out and put a lackluster performance in against a languishing West Ham, and potentially see a West Ham survival, then Newcastle will just sort of peter out. Those players will be moved on, and they'll move into whatever their future may hold. But some of these players, they want to prove. It's about egos for me. They've got to go out there and really try and prove a point, I think. And I think Steve Bruce is getting a lot out of them, barring obviously the Manchester City game. They've been brilliant. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 comfortable Newcastle win.
Alex, I want to talk to you about West Ham's running, because they've got Newcastle today, and the next 5 fixtures after that: Burnley at home, Norwich away, Watford at home, United away, and we know that they've got Villa on the last game of the season.
I would say out of all the teams down at the bottom, they've probably got the most favourable running, apart from the Manchester United fixture. Because you look at those fixtures, they would look at 4 of those 5. There's fixtures that we could win these games, actually legitimately win them. I know Burnley are obviously in the top half and they're playing well. They're obviously doing well. But if I was a West Ham player, I'd still be looking at that game thinking, especially as we're at home for that game, we could win this game. That's a game that we could be winning. So Norwich, bottom of the table, we're better than them. We could win that game. Watford, well, that's a 6 pointer if I ever saw one. And then also the West, as Adam has already alluded to earlier in the show, the Aston Villa game is also a significant fixture on the last game of the season. So West Ham, for me, out of all the clubs down there, they have the most favourable running set of fixtures for a team to actually give themselves a chance of getting out of the staying up.
All these games are on Sky Sports today. All the games today, apart from the final game that we're going to be talking about, and that is Southampton versus Man City. On paper, it's very comfortable, but this is the Premier League. Anything can happen. What do you think, Adam?
4-0 Man City. Easy peasy.
I can't really see past Man City for this one. I just hope that Foden just carries on playing. That's why I'll be watching this game. For me,
I think I'm being disrespectful towards Southampton, who again have probably made a little something out of nothing. They're not going to get 3 points today, but they've had some real players turn up in the last few weeks. So Redmond's put out some really good performances. Ings
been great.
They've been great. Some of their players have done themselves a real justice, and Hasselhunt needs a lot of credit because they were properly languishing, and he turned it around. He had a little change in the system. They went a little more on the front foot and started playing to some of their players' strengths. And I think going forward, they're not up there, but they're a solid, above average about their team in terms of going forward. Danny Ings has to be in the England frame because he's been phenomenal. And people said Liverpool was above his level. Who's to say it was? He had injuries and he didn't get his fair crack of the whip there. He moved to Southampton and he's taken points off of Liverpool's rivals this year. So,
well, Klopp was open and honest about his opinion of Ings, and he was gutted to see him go. Ings wants to start every game. He's not able to do that at Liverpool. He's never going to be able to start that at Liverpool. But Klopp didn't want him to leave, and I think that's a testament to how good Ings has been. I've been singing his praises all season, and people have been taking the mickey and stuff. And Ings, get him on the plane. Or said that from the beginning. He's a great striker, and he's only 27, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think what could happen to him with the emergence of Mason Greenwood, I think he possibly might miss out.
Maybe it'll be good for his club form, and maybe that's what he'll prioritise. Everyone wants to appear for their country. Some players, they don't. Maybe he'll look at that and, he'll be grateful that his injuries aren't there. Obviously, he'll take the rest at the end of the season that he deserves because he's not carried Southampton, but he's certainly carried their front line. I think he scored over 40% of their goals. So I
think it's a very similar situation with Jamie Vardy and Leicester, isn't it, with Danny Ings and Southampton? Yeah.
I feel like a Leicester. So this is my point about Ings' future. Not that no disrespect to Southampton or anything, but if Leicester, they need to replace Vardy at some point. He's 33 years old. They can't be overly reliant on him, particularly if he's having goal droughts. And he is getting older, so his fitness is going to start to wane, and that pace is going to dissipate. In the years, the 18 months even to come. So maybe Leicester would be a good fit for Danny Ings going forward. Southampton, not that they're mid-table fodder, but again, you're never too far away from yo-yoing down to the bottom like Bournemouth. They've had 5-6 great years, and so they've had one bad season, and it looks like it could cost them. If that happens to Southampton, Danny Ings certainly is a Premier League player, and again, like of that England caliber. Maybe a Leicester would be a good fit for him. Maybe a Newcastle if they if they do bits in the transfer market. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Well, we're going to be finding out whether any of our predictions are correct by watching the games later on today, and then coming back on air tomorrow around I think about 5 o'clock. I'll have to double check and let everyone know in the world when we are online. But then make sure you tune into all of our stuff. Make sure you go on our YouTube channel because there's a lot of people that are watching our YouTube channels and not subscribing. So continue you to subscribe when you watch our video and like, because we appreciate that. We want to get to 100 so we can change the domain name, so we can have it to Top Football and everything and put it on billboards and whatever. Make sure you tune on Thursday as well. On Thursday, we've got our top fives and 5 midfield, and we've got loads of new projects and things like that are happening. So keep an eye on all our social media. As you can see, it all running along the bottom: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all at Top Football and the hashtag TUTF. But for myself and the boys, thank you and goodbye.